Barack Obama has gotten pretty lucky politically of late. I've done a few videos this year about the Republican candidates for president, and I think we've all had a good time talking about those jokers. Even most of my Republican friends agree that they came up with a really weak crop of candidates this time. On these videos, I often get requests to talk about President Obama as well. Sometimes these are in the form of angry challenges, as if somehow Obama's shortcomings would make up for how clownish the Republican field is. This request was especially popular with the Ron Paul fans. I told them that I would do a video all about Obama once the Republican race was essentially over, and it appears that Mitt will finally take it after a long, frothy battle with Santorum. You know, for the past 3 years, I have really enjoyed not having to hear every day about the people around the world who are trying to kill me like I did during the W administration. I think the president should remind the American people maybe once a year at most, just so we know that they're still there somewhere, but also remind us that there are still professional soldiers, spies, and counterterrorism experts working on it. I'm not big on worrying about things that I have essentially no control over. I'm busy living my life, and I have no interest in being ruled by whatever type of fear is being offered by politicians to try and make themselves into every American's vision of a protector. Obama made getting bin Laden a priority, and he got him. There wasn't a lot of fanfare. He didn't get on an aircraft carrier in a flight suit like W did after Baghdad was captured. He just got it done, and I respect that. As for the wars, I think Obama has dragged his feet more than necessary, though he did finally wind down Iraq once the Iraqi government gave him a final shove. Afghanistan continues on, and I think it's time to bow out gracefully once and for all. I know it's already on a timetable, but it hardly seems soon enough. When the latest massacre of civilians by a U.S. soldier occurred, Afghanistan's own supposedly somewhat sane government supported the local conspiracy theories that it was several American soldiers that went out and did this, despite no evidence to that effect at the moment. As much as anything else that has happened recently, that tells me that we're done. It's time to bring everyone home and return some sense of normalcy after 10+ years of war. Obama has made some steps toward this, and I give him some credit for it, but let's just say I'm watching the clock closely. The National Defense Authorization Act, or NDAA, is something that a lot of people bring up about Obama. I agree that the language in it is very troubling, and that it could easily be abused, even if it's only being used for now on people bent on mass murder like al-Awlaki, who I have a hard time ginning up any sympathy for despite his legally questionable trialist execution. Even with Obama's meaningless signing statement, it was a bad idea and it shouldn't have been passed. Of course, Romney would have signed it too, and probably not even bothered with the signing statement. It's a can of worms that should never have been opened. On the plus side, when it comes to rights, Obama did successfully push to repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell, despite McCain's best efforts to stop it. Which reminds me, in case you were considering it, you can feel free to use that as one of many examples to squelch that constant nonsense argument I see floating around that there's no difference between candidates and parties in the presidential election. You can also use the healthcare reform debate to debunk it. I always love to hear how Republicans want to repeal it, and then promise they will come up with something better. There will be millions without coverage overnight if it's repealed, and that's an issue that is rather starkly different between the two parties. Still not convinced? Well, the corporations pouring hundreds of millions into Republican campaign coffers know there's a difference. I'm no corporate takeover expert like Romney, but I know how businesses think about these kind of expenditures. They don't put forward anything near that kind of investment unless they're sure they will get a big return out of it. The oil industry gives 2.5 times as much to Republicans as Democrats, and many of the other major industries seem to split it that way too. Guess who pays for whatever corporate giveaways are in store if Republicans win? I hear a lot about third parties and how they will somehow save this country, despite their failure to do so in any other country that has a strong third party. Personally, I would love more viable options for candidates too, but I'm not a big fan of voting for a third party unless it appears that they have a shot to win, or if the outcome is not in doubt. Now wait, I know what you're about to type in the comments. Yes, of course, if people don't vote for them, then they will have no shot of winning. This is where polling comes in. If your candidate can consistently get around 1% in a national presidential poll as a third party, you will suddenly see that they will be part of the conversation. If they manage to have broad appeal, then they will get even more exposure. And then you may have a shot. I'm under no illusion that Barack Obama is any great fighter for all of what I believe, but I can live with him for another term. I'm definitely not going to reach for impossible perfection in a swing state, and I suggest you don't either, unless you think President Romney has a ring to it.